Arguments flowed in harmonious tones, chittering clicks, bubbling vibrations, and many other forms of communication. Processor room. His vision was narrowing the edges of his HUD, flickering with error codes. One last warning flashed across his display. As he crossed the threshold into the control chamber, shield failing, suit integrity critical, he reached the processor just as the cooldown cycle completed and slammed the manual override sequence into place. Lights stabilized the hum of life support. Returned to normal readings within seconds. Atmospheric regulation began to stabilize across Sector 7. He activated his communicator, Sector Secure. Begin reoxygenation protocol. Now, he said, voice hoarse and strained, opening airlock, came the reply. Reed waited until the environmental readings approached safe levels, then carried the unconscious Jorian out into the waiting arms of medical personnel, before collapsing to his knees. His suit hissed as pressure equalized. Emergency responders rushed in. But Reed waved them off as he removed his helmet, face drenched in sweat. "Delegate status?" he asked. "Breathing hard, stable?" replied a medic. "You saved all of them." Reed nodded once that was enough. Later, Reed sat in a recovery room rehydrating and running diagnostics on his damaged suit when Commander Vexthar entered, followed by Dr. Mitchell and Ambassador Plorb. "Your actions." Vexthar began, his voice lower than usual, were highly irregular. "Yes, sir," Reed replied without apology and entirely. Effective. Plorb added, his form glowing a pale gold. "Regulations exist to protect lives," Vexthar continued. "But your interpretation was unexpectedly compatible with that goal." Reed gave a faint smile. "Regulations should serve purpose, not override. Perhaps it is time," Vexthar said, "for some of our protocols to evolve." Plorb rippled in agreement. "The galaxy has much to learn from humans and vice versa." Dr. Mitchell added. Reed just leaned back in the chair and sipped from his water pack. "Glad. We're all adapting." Reed instantly realized the gestures meant there were Jorian young somewhere in the sector, likely trapped and separated from safety, with the processor still cooling. He faced a choice. If he left now to locate the children, he might not return in time to finish the restart, and if he stayed, they might not survive the unstable atmosphere. He quickly confirmed their location through gestures, then indicated the restart process to the Jorian. Knowing their species was highly skilled with technical systems, they would understand he passed Vexthar's personal shield generator to the alien, ensuring they had protection to complete the task, and then moved further into the hazardous zone, following the directions he reached. What seemed to be a play area where 3 small Jorians clung to each other, struggling to breathe, their filtration gear barely functioning. They flinched at the sight of him until he used calming signs from the shared protocol, realizing the smallest one was fading fast. He made a quick adjustment to his suit's oxygen output, creating a small pressurized zone, then gently gathered the children, shielding them inside his arms for the trip back. When he returned, the warning systems were blaring, his suit integrity near failure. But the adult Jorian had completed the cooldown and was beginning the restart. Reed placed the children by the cleanest air and helped finalize the process together. They brought the systems back online as indicators, shifted from danger to caution, and the scrubbers began to clear the air. His suit breached critical limits, the corrosive environment penetrating multiple layers. The Jorian saw his struggle and tried to return the shield, but Reed refused, motioning toward the children. Their safety had to come first. With the processor restored, Reed triggered the emergency extraction. His last move was opening the door before everything went dark. 3 cycles later, he woke in the medical bay, every breath painful, and his skin raw. Dr. Naomi Ward looked down at him, visibly relieved, saying, "Welcome back, Master Sergeant. We were worried when he tried to speak." Nothing came out, so he settled for a questioning glance. Ward assured him the Jorians had survived and their habitat was stabilized. The children had become minor celebrities in diplomatic circles. Reed gave a slight nod, content. Ward added with a faint smile that he had unintentionally triggered a political storm. Commander Vexthar had been challenging Confederation emergency protocols for 2 full cycles. Reed managed a weak smile. Ward told him to rest since several visitors were waiting once he was cleared. Apparently saving children crosses species lines. When he woke again, the room was full. Dr. Mitchell was speaking softly with Vexthar while Ambassador Plorb hovered nearby. His form flickering with excitement, Isazik watched quietly, analyzing the moment. But the biggest surprise was the presence of 3 adult Jorians standing upright. With their methane tanks, despite the protocol that normally banned them from oxygen zones, except in crises, it was a clear sign of respect. Mitchell greeted him warmly, saying, "Good to see you back," and added that his actions had changed minds. Reed rasped one word: the children won. Jurian stepped forward, making formal signs while a device translated into speech, saying, "Our young survived because of you. You risked everything for those not of your kind. This was unexpected based on our data." Reed looked uneasy and said anyone would have done it. Vexthar made the clicking sound Reed now knew as laughter, saying, "Our records show otherwise. Even our own guards decided it was too risky." Isazik agreed, saying, "Your behavior defies all our forecasts. Your data needs correcting." Reed replied. Plainly, Plorb glided closer, announcing that the Confederation was forming a new diplomatic team focused on humanitarian exceptions, and they wanted his help. Once he recovered, Reed turned to Mitchell, who confirmed with a nod, saying, "Your hands-on example of flexible decision-making has made waves, and now the Confederation is rethinking its stance on how emergencies are handled." The Jorian representative moved their appendages again, explaining that, in their language, they have a term breath-sharer, meaning one who gives life-sustaining gas to another, a concept without a direct equivalent in Confederation standard. And now they offered a new term for the official lexicon: human intervention, defined as an unlikely solution achieved through ignoring statistical odds. Reed, despite his condition, managed a faint smile and joked that it might need a little refining for clarity. Then, for the first time, he noticed Commander Vexthar wore a new badge, a blue symbol, unfamiliar to him. Catching his look, Vexthar explained. It was a temporary designation as liaison to the human delegation, something he had personally requested, admitting that Reed's actions had forced a re-evaluation of long-held beliefs. "High praise coming from an Arthaxian," Dr. Mitchell commented quietly before the medical officer stepped in to usher the guests out, reminding them that Reed still needed rest. Vexthar hesitated at the door with one last question when, "You handed over the shield generator to the Jurian adult. You knew it would endanger your own safety. Why did you proceed?" Reed thought for a moment, choosing his words carefully, knowing cultural clarity mattered just as much as language in my unit. He said, finally, "Our code is the mission comes first, but never if it costs your humanity. I couldn't do both, finish the mission and save the children. But I could make sure someone else could finish the mission while I saved them." Vexthar stared at him in silence, then said, "Humanity may be a deeper concept than we assumed. Perhaps it is not just the name of your kind, but a value to aim for." And with that he departed, leaving Reed to recover and to realize that true diplomacy was only beginning. 6 cycles later, Reed stood formally at attention as the Galactic Confederation Council approved the new human integration protocols. All 17 member species had representatives present, with humans given a place of honor near the main platform. Ambassador Plorb, now a strong advocate for Earth, shimmered with excitement, declaring it a historic occasion, his translator struggling to capture the enthusiasm. This was the first update to the emergency doctrine in over 700 cycles. The new guidelines, unofficially called the Reed Protocols, introduced a flexible system for interpreting safety rules during crisis, a radical shift from the Confederation's usual rigid processes. As the event ended, Reed was surrounded by officials, eager to talk about deeper human involvement in Confederation security. What had once been fear of human unpredictability was now cautious respect for what they labeled adaptive problem-solving. Later, during a smaller private toast with the original Diplomatic team Dr. Mitchell raised his glass, filled with a species-safe drink to breaking rules for the right reasons. He said with a grin. Reed lifted his own in return to making better rules. Vexthar, now permanently assigned as Earth's liaison. Added solemnly to humanity, using the term in its expanded sense, Dr. Ward leaned over and whispered, "Not bad for a species they thought might accidentally destroy the airlock." Reed grinned fully for once. "Just wait until they let us touch the engines." And almost on cue, a young officer burst in, clearly distressed mandibles clattering, and addressed Vexthar with urgency. "Commander Engineering has found an anomaly in the FTL calibration system. The chief engineer requests the human delegation immediately." Vexthar's eyes turned to Reed, who was already putting his drink down. "You mentioned engines," the commander said dryly. Reed's face hinted that this was no accident as they rushed to engineering. Dr. Mitchell filled him in. "The Swift Justice is scheduled to jump to Proxima tomorrow, our first formal visit to human territory with the full Confederation present. If the FTL fails, the entire ceremony could be delayed." Reed nodded, knowing the polity.